Layovers, your weekly dose of aviation innovation.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard from the flight deck. This is Paul Papadimitriou.
Hello everybody, this is Alex Hunter.
We'll be your pilots for this show about the news, the startups and the technologies defining the modern air travel experience. Our flight time today, 1 hour and 4 minutes, and we expect an on-time arrival. Coming up on this flight, you really shouldn't take your carry-on in the event of an emergency evacuation, but saving your pet from the new American Cuddle class is safe. Taking almost 30 million as announced at United CEO seems safe too, as is flying on a 747 for an Maiden World Tour piloted by lead singer Bruce Dickinson. Walking miles at Heathrow won't offer you frequent flyer miles, and the best views might be at Gatwick anyway. LoungeBuddy is your best friend if you want an airport break, but think twice about resting if you're at Kuala Lumpur International. It's sinking. As we reach our cruising altitude, I'm going to turn off the fasten seatbelt sign for you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, relax, and let's turn on those noise-cancelling headphones.
Flight 23 to London Gatwick. Hi, Alex.
Hi Paul, how are you? And I think we should start by saying happy birthday. A few days ago, I know, but this is the first one since, so happy, what is it, 27th, 28th?
Yeah, exactly, like that.
We'll just leave it at that.
And you probably gave me the best gift of them all, because you offered me an actual genuine plate that was served by Pia in the Concorde. So that was something. You really get me.
That was kind of fun.
Ever.
It was neat to actually to see it. And I know neither of us have had the chance to go supersonic, so I thought you should at least have something that's been supersonic.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. Actually, it's really. I'll take a picture and put it on the Facebook page so all of you guys can see it, because it's really neat. So thank you, and maybe one day we'll hope we can actually fly another type of supersonic. Though yeah. I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, me either.
I want to start the show by just giving a few shout outs to a few people, because I kind of dropped the ball. So we've opened this feedback form so people can thank us or give us feedback. There's a Facebook message on the page. There were many of them that I hadn't addressed and I hadn't actually replied. So I spent the weekend replying to all of them. So a few shout outs first to Neil, because he was really excited that we were covering Johannesburg on the last episode.
Neil, did we get everything right? I hope we were accurate. Although it was my father, wasn't it, who was giving all the information, not us. So blame him.
And by the way, that's the other shout out, because everybody said that was our best episode so far. Not only I thought it was, but I mean, a lot of people came back and said, this is a great episode, really. So shout out to your dad, because that was really awesome.
Yeah, it was fun having him on.
I mean, really, we will have him one day again, and we'll try, because now we have the pressure, because of course it was our best episode so far. Now we have to, keep the standard up. So
yeah.
We'll try. Very quick thank yous. Zachary from San Francisco. Kendall, she now lives in Berlin, she told me, and she works in I think it's an organization, I wouldn't say a company, called Flyers Rights. They fight for the rights of flyers.
Great.
So that's, yeah, exactly. So she also was active in talking to us. There was Michael. Actually, Michael did something interesting. He shared a piece of news via Evernote. Wow. So which I like, but I'm not sure that a lot of people would use that, which is why I never had opened it. And I'm thinking maybe the feedback form is not the best form. So I'm thinking either opening a Slack channel. I mean, I already have the Slack, but I'd never opened it for those geeks of you, or simply just a Facebook group. We'll see, because I know that a lot of people just want to give us, I've read this article, you should cover it. And I want to find the best way. Maybe Facebook is, because a lot of people are on Facebook. I don't know. We'll see that. Also, the subreddit, aviation on reddit.com. There actually, I looked for our podcast, and a few people actually have mentioned it, that it is a great podcast to listen to, that they're active listeners. So thank you. Specific shout out to the username is impossible to pronounce. It's Triple H and M, I think, so or something. So thank you so much. Gen Kanai, we recently relocated to Shanghai after having lived in Tokyo for a very, very long time. He actually said it is the best postcard for frequent flyers to keep up with the airline industry trends and news and key travel-related apps. So thank you so much for writing that.
That's very kind indeed.
Peter Johnson, who hosts another podcast called Extended, the aerospace focused podcast. He's been also active. We'll having him as a guest one day. Thank you, Masha, Gray, Marcus. We actually said that our intro is cheesy, so actually, I kind of agree. It is. I don't want to run an intro the traditional podcast way with just a background music. So I'm thinking about something else. So if any of you guys has a cool idea to start something a bit different than the usual podcast format, tell us. As long as I don't have a good idea, I'll keep doing that silly thing. But thank you still, Marcus. And also Camille, personal friend that you've met, Alex, Mika, his wife, Marcus, used to work in a defense contractor in France, also gave us a lot of feedback, so that's great. So anyway,
so much for that.
And your brothers as well.
Yeah, my brothers are very active listeners, which again, I'm still getting used to the idea of that. But thanks to them for their support and thoughts. My youngest brother, Will, just flew on Singapore Airlines and confirmed that the A340-500 does in fact have that body storage capability.
The morgue, the in-flight morgue, So the flight doesn't exist anymore, but I think they're thinking about reigniting it with a different aircraft. So we'll see if that morgue reappears. Not the best thought when you're flying. So talking about something that was all over the news these recent days with a BA 777 called Fire. Have you seen that?
Extraordinary story, wasn't it? Everything. I mean, we live in an age where these stories unravel so quickly and with such extraordinary detail from so many different angles that we, within a matter of minutes, were able to see photos from the tarmac of this plane catching fire and listening to the air traffic control and, of course, the reams and reams and reams of speculation as to what exactly happened. But
we're arriving in an age where, like, you figure that everything is being either videoed or photographed. It's insane, right?
Which I suppose for investigators is beneficial once the noise has died down. But essentially what happened, in case you somehow missed this, was a BA 777 was on the runway at Las Vegas, had started its run up. It was taken off. Yeah. And there was an issue with one of the engines. It caught fire. They aborted the takeoff, thankfully, and evacuated the airplane.
Extremely quickly,
unbelievably quickly. This whole thing is, if something goes wrong, you want it to go like this. I think everything went textbook.
It's great that you say that, because it's exactly what we talked about in the last episode 22 with your dad, the airport readiness. When you hear the ATC, so the ATC, in the US, it's for those who don't know, are publicly available. I'll put actually a link for you guys to hear. The calmness, the quietness, almost mundane, the way they handled it, and it was extremely fast. Not only, it's almost as if the ATC tower knew and started sending the fire engines before the Mayday call, and they arrived on the scene extremely quickly, extinguished extremely quickly, and also the staff at BA was extremely well prepared to put everybody out and to disembark the plane in less than 34 minutes. So it was quite amazing. So I mean, that's exactly what your dad said. You remember said about how airports are ready in terms of if there's an incident, of an accident. This was perfect.
Yeah, it was extraordinary. I think the airport said that they got the first call at 4:13 p.m. local. The flames were spotted at 4:14. And in that same minute, there was the fire engines were rolling, meaning that people had to get off their seats, get their equipment on, get in the truck, and start rolling in under a minute. That's extraordinary. And by 4:18 p.m., less than 4 minutes later, every single person was off that airplane and the fire was out.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the pictures, it was not a small fire.
No, not at all. Now the big thing, though, is, as in every incident in the past, let's say 3 to 5 years, there's always this big debate of people actually going off the airplane and starting taking selfies and taking pictures of the plane. There's a fire.
Yeah, there's basically a giant fuel tank on fire, because this plane was fully loaded to go from Las Vegas to Gatwick. That's a lot of fuel, highly combustible fuel. And
if you think there was, it's actually interesting, because almost now to a dot, 30 years ago, there was another, it was not BA, it was British Air Tours, which was part of BA. to Manchester Airport had a similar situation. So a fire started during takeoff, and at that time the fire actually suddenly ignited the entire fuel, and it was a huge ball. A lot of people died. I cannot remember how many. I think it was 53 people died and 2 crew out of 115, 116. I don't remember the exact number. So it was actually 30 years ago. So we learned a lot of lessons. One of the lessons was, and that's the reason people, they ask you to evacuate the plane in less than 90 seconds. You never know how it goes, because I've read comments. There was a comment on Facebook from a friend of a friend, I guess, who said, yeah, well, if it's a controlled exit, why not? I can take my carry-on, or I would not leave my $3,000 camera behind. You don't know if it's control exit or not.
Absolutely.
You don't know what's going to happen.
They rarely evacuate the plane in situations like this. The slides are deployed, and let's remember, this plane was on the runway, and they're not going to block the runway and get everybody off that airplane unless it's a real emergency. And the fact is, like you say, I would rather err on the side of caution and GTFO that airplane. Right, rather than go, well, it could be just a minor thing. I'm going to assume that it's the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. After the fact, in hindsight, we're also clever and say, oh, yeah, well, and especially it's true that our aircraft safety has made huge progress, and we don't have these accidents that happen like the Manchester I just mentioned, which, by the way, for which BA and Manchester Airport for the first time apologized to the deceased and the family, said, yeah, we learned the lessons, and one of the lessons is just get the hell out of the aircraft as fast as possible. So, and that the other thing I just mentioned very quickly in passing, people had the full carry-on.
This is extraordinary, and we keep seeing it over and over. I remember when our friend Dan from San Francisco, the air traffic controller, was talking about the Asiana crash. There were people who were taking off there, and you could argue that plane wasn't on fire, but it could well have been. This plane was on fire, massively engulfed in flames, and there were still people who were dumb enough, idiotic enough to take the time to get their bags together, obstruct other passengers with their bags to get off this inferno.
Obstructing, because it's not only that you put yourself in danger, but if you take the time to take your carry-on from the overhead compartment, you're slower. You might actually even tear the chute, tear the
yeah, that's why they tell you to take your high-heeled shoes off. I think, you and I have been talking about this on and off for years, and even more now since this happened. And there have been a lot of other people who have been talking about it to the point where it seems like something might actually happen as a result of this. But I think
you said something interesting. You said we should. I mean, during the safety instructions at the beginning, they should actually say that.
Yeah, they should explain to you why you take your high heels off. It will tear the thing that's going to get you to safety. You should not take your anything with you, and they should reinforce that, and maybe even show a picture of that airplane on fire going, this is why.
Yeah. I think there was another story also in the 80s, slightly different, but to see how fast a fire can go was the Saudi flight 163, which had a fire, landed. By the time the plane stopped on the runway, probably too late, everybody had perished, not because of the fire, but just because of the fume. It can go extremely fast. It was less than, I think, 3 minutes. Everybody died. So that happens. Even though we are making aircraft more secure, we learn our lessons. Guys, do not be dumb.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, there's something going on with these people where they think they just don't understand. And perhaps, I mean, ironically, perhaps it was the calmness of the crew and the efficiency with which this evacuation was done. Because this pilot, the captain, had been flying with BA for 40 years. He was one flight away from retirement. You couldn't write this as a script. It's just perfect. And, you could come up with a microscopic excuse for these people that because it was done so efficiently, because it was done so calmly, that they thought it wasn't a big deal. But I don't care what anybody says. When you're getting off the airplane via the slides, I will punch you in the face myself if you try and bring anything other than your child or dog if you've got your dog with you.
Yeah, I would jump over you or something. In the end, it's just, it's a matter. You never know. Stop saying there's a controlled fire. I think, like you said, it's the calmness of the crew, but also the fact that we didn't have huge accidents because we know how to do it. But that's the reason, because we evacuate planes very quickly, that we don't have death anymore. So don't think that it's only because, it's a controlled fire, or it's this minor thing because we are on the ground, so that's okay.
And you see, I'm just looking at a picture right now. There are people coming off the slide, casually strolling away from this airplane,
taking selfies.
That is billowing thick black smokes and flames coming out of the engine. And we've now learned that the engine fire, the failure of the engine was not contained. These engines are designed for when something goes catastrophically wrong with them, mechanically or otherwise, it's contained within the structure of the engine so that nothing comes out of it, damages any flight surfaces if it's in flight, ruptures a fuel tank. That's what they're designed to do. Even if it breaks off one of the titanium fan blades, the cowling is designed to contain that. In this instance, because of what looks like structural issues with the engine in the first place, that didn't happen. So this could have gone even worse. If it had been in flight, who knows? It could have been
exactly
much worse.
We'll have at some point a report of what happened exactly, because there's a lot of, as usual, a lot of theories and speculations about what happened to that engine, but that's not the point today.
Yeah.
Today was really, and we're sorry we spent the last 10 minutes talking about that. It really riles us up.
It's important, and I think if you have an opportunity, maybe we'll edit into this one, or at least post a link. Listen to the air traffic control recording. It is textbook. It's staggering how calm everybody is given what's going on, and however the people that are going around it. And the lead air traffic controller, who was on the frequency at the time, who was not only trying to get emergency services to a plane, she was also sending other landing airplanes around, getting them safe. It's just really extraordinary. Paul sent me the link, and my heart was pounding listening to it, even though I knew the outcome, that everything was fine. It's worth listening to give you a renewed appreciation for what those people do every day.
Speedbird, Mayday, Speedbird 2276, request bar services.
Speedbird 2276, heavy fire services are on the way.
Sarah, Speedbird 2276, heavy.
Speedbird 2276, heavy, go ahead.
Speedbird 2276, heavy, we are evacuating on the runway. We have a fire, I repeat, we are evacuating.
Speedbird 2276, heavy, roger.
And if you want to know what it is to evacuate a plane, a lot of airlines have programs. They usually advertise this for people that are afraid of flying, but you can actually sign up, and they make you, BA is a very cool one. We always want to do it, me and Alex, and you can actually go, and they will they have a fake plane where you actually go and do through the slopes, etc. So to see what it means, because maybe if you have never done it, and thankfully so, I've never done it. I've had a few incidents in aircraft, but never to the point of having to go through an evacuation. I think it's also a good lesson. So guys, if you're interested, if you want to see how critical it can be, these lessons, they're not that expensive, actually. You should look it up.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of fun to experience.
Yeah, exactly.
In a controlled environment.
And absolutely.
I hasten to add.
Absolutely. Though it was interesting, I think I mentioned that to you completely, it just popped into my mind that there's a lot of muscle memory that happens when, of course, there's a time of panic. So it's true that some people might grab what's next to them, like maybe an item, maybe a bag. I'm not saying on the overhead, because that's different, because there's the muscle memory. You grab your stuff and you leave. So I'm not going to completely go against them. It's just you have to understand that it's not worth it. But the other bit was how funny that people, when they try to remove their seatbelt, they would actually look for on the left or the right, the hip, because they're used to car belts. They would look for the button. So the muscle memory kicks in. And this is one of the things that the airline industry is learning, how to make people go faster, which is, by the way, guys, another reason why you should actually listen to the
That's why they do it. You'd think that when we did the Virgin America safety demonstration, we had to keep it in, but we made a joke about it for the 0.1% of you who don't know how to operate a seatbelt. It does it like this, but it is for that exact reason. The FAA and the NTSB and the DOT in the US have understand that. Yeah, we instinctively reach for where it would be in a car. not across the middle of our waist. But again, like Paul said, this is why you listen to it. This is why I, as much as I travel and fly, I still listen to it. If I'm sitting next to you as a friend or someone who's traveling with me, I always point out, and Paul's experienced this, I point out where the nearest emergency exit is. It drives my wife crazy. But if there is an emergency and you're not moving as quickly as I am, I'm not coming back for you. Man, I might go back for my wife and kids. And maybe Paul. But it's
won't be needed.
It's like it's 10 seconds to glance over your shoulder and go, if anything goes down, it's right there.
Yeah. Moving on, talking very quickly about a dumbass. There was a guy, Birmingham Airport, a Monarch flight going to Sharm el-Sheikh. A guy wanted to smoke in a lavatory. You don't do that.
Oh, no.
Still on the ground, and actually set a fire to the plane twice.
I missed that.
Yeah, and was actually then, of course, taken by the police in custody, et cetera, et cetera. So was he drunk or not? I don't know, but still, you still see a lot of dumbasses. So don't hesitate to tell your crew that these people are putting you in danger. Moving on, still on BA though, the better news, because you've had the luck to fly with BA on first class, and you actually loved the experience. And very quickly saw that BA will be introducing new first class seats, and they look really cool.
They look fantastic. These are going to be, I think, initially exclusively on the Dreamliner, and not just the seats, the whole cabin just looks. Yeah. It looks like in a really nice way. It looks like a sort of an old London club, like a gentleman's club, but not like a strip club. It looks contemporary, but kind of deferential to their heritage. Lots of kind of dark colors without making it too sort of dingy. They've done a really, really good job with it.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. I will post obviously some pictures. The designer is always a website you want to look at if you like these premium experience. I also curate Flipboard magazine, as they call Seat 1A, when I put a lot of these fancy seats and stuff. It's really talking about fancy seats. Singapore was always ahead of the curve, and they just announced that they will probably have new seats by 2017. So I'm really looking forward what they will have there. Although I've never flown them in first class.
You're right; they really are ahead of the game.
But now, with all the Etihad and the others, so they had, I guess, to I think they introduced the new seats when they got the first A380, but that was almost 7 years ago.
2007, 8 years ago, yeah.
8 years ago. So it's so they have to probably think about something. They are early designs, but none of them are the ones that we probably see. So they also look pretty cool. And still talking about first class, Alex mentioned that when there's a fire, you would accept that you would grab your pet on the way out. American Airlines just introduced first class pets. It's not a seat, but it's a container within, so not in the hold, but in the cabin for your pets. So if you love your pets, American Airlines is the way to go. Honestly, I'm sure they also make a good profit out of it, because
I bet they make a fortune out of it.
People love to fly with their pets. I have pets. I mean, they usually fly in the hold. I don't take them in, just business trips or holidays. But I can see why. So that's a good. I don't know if a lot of people will use them, but I think it's a great marketing way for them to attract people that love their pets, or small dogs and stuff.
They call it, wait for this, cuddle class. Give me a break.
But that's awesome. Come on. I know it's a bit late still on BA, but I just wanted to mention it because we know that Turkish had made some flights where they would invite entrepreneurs to pitch during the flight to accomplished entrepreneurs or VCs or other types of business people. And BA is doing such a thing as well. They will go from London to Austin, Texas, and they are opening a competition for people to actually, it's not reserved, by the way, to startups in the technology sector. It can be anyone who's having a business, a small business, to go to the flight and actually pitch your idea, get help from these mentors. And I think the deadline is coming up today or tomorrow. So if the show is up quickly enough, you'll be able to go. But I think it's
it's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a cool idea. Yeah, exactly. It's the mentoring flight itself will take place on October 2015, and the reason they do that is also obviously marketing, because they're relaunching their business offering for miles frequent flyers. Not you as a person, but offering as companies, corporates. So I'll put the link if you're interested. Now, talking about somebody that could have mentored you, but is no longer here, is the CEO of United. What a story.
Wow. Yeah. This United are having like a banner year. Jeez Louise. So for me, this came out of nowhere that he's been fired.
Yeah,
that's the headline. He has been fired.
Yeah, exactly. It was not like there was an inquiry or there was something that was brewing. It's suddenly we got the news and he's out.
Yeah.
What?
Surprising. The whole United story has gotten weirder and weirder and weirder over the last 6 months with some really bizarre decisions. And I think I mentioned a while ago, I didn't think he was going to last. So he hasn't. But he's gone.
This one is specific. So United, as we know, relies a lot on Newark. At its hub.
They were pulling out of JFK to move everything to Newark, and now we have a little bit of insight into why.
Newark is regulated by the Port Authority of New York, so they are the regulatory authority for Newark. And apparently, what has happened is it was the chairman of that Port Authority. Basically, the whole story is that has United put a flight from Newark to this guy home city just basically as a kind of a political convenience.
Yeah, they'd restarted a loss-making route between New York and somewhere in South Carolina. I don't remember where. Exactly. And there's now this massive, and this is just one of many very strange things that have happened, but a corruption investigation, really. And I think it's important to point out, as much as I don't think this guy has done a very good job. There's no one suggesting that Jeff Smizek he's not been accused of doing anything, and that there's no kind of suggestion that he hasn't cooperated, but he has been relieved of his duties with $28.6 million in his pocket. That was his severance. It's just conditional on him cooperating with this, but he also gets flight benefits for life, and
that's pretty cool. And parking privileges.
Parking privileges. I mean, goodness me.
But a lot of people were riled up about that, including Robert Scoble and Loic Lemur on Facebook. They were like, what? Why is it? But again, he's participating in the inquiry. There's an inquiry of corruption. We don't know, so we're not making here pointing fingers, but there's something probably fishy. And so was it a case of United board wanted him out and just say, okay, this is a good opportunity to put him out? Was it that there's something, is it a smoking gun? We don't know. We'll see if he's cooperating, but still, the story is a bit fishy.
Very fishy, because they canceled that flight, which was referred to as the chairman's flight, the day after this guy left the Port Authority.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on. And even United said they haven't come out with a lot of information, but they have said that the CEO's departure was in connection with United's probe related to the federal investigation associated with the Port Authority.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're saying no. It's just he's going off to pursue other interests. It's because of this.
But United knows that Port Authority can make or break Newark for United, so they have to be extremely cooperative. They don't want to lose that hub.
Yeah.
Not that they would lose it is not an eventual possibility, but they have to be extremely cooperative because they rely heavily on Newark and thus the Port Authority. Well, interesting. We'll follow up on that story, but I'd love to be fired from and having my parking privileges and flight benefits forever.
And $29 million.
Of course. Obviously. Switching subjects of somebody that doesn't probably need to be mentored at all. So as a kid, I was a big fan of Iron Maiden. It's a British rock band, sold more than 90 million albums. The point is not to talk about the music, but the singer called Bruce Dickinson is famously also a pilot. And it has on recent tours for the band, they were using Boeing 757, was it?
Yeah.
On two tours in 2008, 2009, I think, to carry the band around. They even did some flights where they would invite fans all over. So it's pretty cool.
So cool.
Bruce Dickinson himself was piloting the plane. But this time, and this is pretty cool because we both love that aircraft, the band has announced that it will now go for 747 for their world tour. That's pretty amazing, actually, when you think about it. It's it's a full 747. They're leasing it from a company, I think I think it's in England. I'm not sure now. I don't have the info right in front of me. So they will carry. There will not be extra passengers. I'm not sure, but I think it is one of these combi 747. So it's a freighter and has a few seats on the upper deck. It's not a full 747 for passengers. That's what I heard. So they will start their tour in 2016 with that plane. Actually, in the latest album, the last song of the album is an 18-minute song about the people might know the Hindenburg, that rigid aircraft that crashed in the 30s. There was actually a worse crash by a British rigid airship. This Maiden overseas voyage that killed 48 out of the 54 people. That was the end, by the way, of the program in the UK to have a rigid aircraft. I'm looking for the name now, but I forgot the name of the actual aircraft. So the entire song is about that. So that shows how much he loves, because he wrote that song. He loves aviation. Wow. He has as well. He was a pilot for a company called Airways. They were doing charter flights mostly. He even chartered people to the Hajj, so to Mecca for the yearly Muslim pilgrimage. He was also carrying passengers around, of course, in charter destinations for holidays. Then the company went under, and he opened a company called Cardiff Aviation. And Cardiff Aviation now, I think they employ 50 to 70 people. So they do, the aircraft maintenance, so liveries and all the kind of maintenance that you do, because he's a big believer in the UK as being a potential to actually make it still big in aviation. The bigger news, though, is that he's even thinking about launching an airline. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's important to point out that this isn't some celebrity hobbyist. He has 7,000 hours of flight experience, and I can guarantee you that that's more than the person in the left seat of your next EasyJet flight. That is a lot of flying time, and this guy is.
And he flies even like the old aircraft.
Old World
like
War
Harrison
I.
Ford, same thing. I think
absolutely, and it's
same idea. And he really adores. We'll try to get him once as a guest. I know he's hard, but he's on the same. So Alex and I have speakers agents because we do speaking around the world, and he's on one of the companies we use. He's on the same one, so maybe that's a way to get to him. Nice. But I'm sure we'd love to talk about the other thing also, and very quickly, because I know a rumble about, but I'm still a fan of this band. So Cardiff Aviation was recently actually given the mandate to run Air Djibouti, so an actual airline in Africa. We talked about Africa with your dad in their previous episode. So they will provide operational management, offer technical support, etc., from South Wales. It's pretty cool. So he's really serious about it. It's not just, like you said, it's not just something he does for glamour. It's actually a business he tries to run. And finally, I will say he also has the biggest aircraft ever. It's actually like a rigid aircraft, like the ones we just mentioned, the Hindenburg and the other, that I will find the name eventually in my memory. There's this company in the UK that's trying to launch these massive rigid aircrafts to think of them as massive balloons to do a cargo transfer. He's an investor in that company. They've already actually have the prototype for it. So he's really serious about it.
Yeah, and he likes the mechanics, the theoretical mechanics, and the operational side of airlines and aviations, and the business side just as much as getting behind the controls of an airplane. And I think with Cardiff and a few other ones, he's come in and picked up businesses that have been badly managed and run into the ground, invested some of his own money to make sure that people were going to keep their jobs, and he could turn it around. So I never met the guy. I don't even think I've seen an interview of him, but he just sounds like a cool cat. I think, I think
he speaks when he does, since we talked about speakers agency, I think he speaks about that. He speaks about the aviation in the UK, Cardiff Aviation, the R101. That's the name of the ship that crashed in the 30s, the UK one. So he really is really passionate about it. The funny bit of the anecdote is that he learned to fly in the 80s. So he was already touring with a band, and the drummer had his license for single engine. And he said, okay, if the drummer can do it, I can do it as well. And then it led to all he did now. He did also Olympic fencing. So he's really almost like a polymath. He wrote books and stuff. So it's really amazing. Finally, for those, I couldn't see him, but he was last 2 weeks ago. So end of August. That's Harrods. For those who've been to London, Harrods is a big tourist destination. I'm not always a big fan of the store. It's a very fancy store. I didn't know that, they have pop-up stores, right?
Yeah.
But this time there was a pop-up store to actually sell private jets. Can you believe this?
Yeah, for those last-minute impulse buys when you're like, dang it, I forgot to go and get my private jet. You can just nip down to Harrods and pick one up on your way home.
And obviously, he went there to run the store for a day as a celebrity, and the planes that are being sold are selling for £2.2 million a pop. So I mean, I don't know, it's not my kind of pop store.
Pocket change.
Yeah, if you're fired from United, you can do it. So moving on to another livery, because we just talked about the 747, which will obviously have the entire livery of Iron Maiden and band. We talked about a few episodes ago. I can't remember what it was. It was, I think, in the spring of Star Wars at ANA, and that was just revealed. The actual plane was revealed.
It looks incredible.
Have you seen the YouTube video?
Yeah.
They've hired stormtroopers.
It's fantastic. It's a beautiful. So it's 787, so it's already a beautiful airplane, and it's the R2D2
one, yeah,
special livery jet. That's it just looks fantastic. It's the perfect plane for that type of thing, and I think this is one of 3 or 4 special jets.
Yeah, because now they said that at first they only announced that, and now they said that they will do other ones with other characters of Star Wars. They're really going full in with that. So I really hope I can fly once. I've never flown the 787. You might fly one, actually. You told me.
I think I have a few opportunities coming up. So I'm
so jealous. But you'll have, of course, to fly with ANA. The first flight will be on October 18th.
Yeah, my father's birthday.
From Tokyo to Vancouver.
Nice.
And return, obviously. So keep your eyes open. I'm sure it will also land at some point, probably in London and in the US. Now, so sometimes you go on Facebook and you see something that comes out of dreams. So the other day it was Emirates Air. I'll get to that in a minute. That was offering free first-class flights if you were sharing the news and liking the page. Same thing was another company called British Air. Exact same thing. I mean, how can you fall for this?
Yeah, it's prevalent. It's been happening since the dawn of the internet. But I've seen them with Virgin Air, Virgin vacation trips like this. Blah, 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 and we'll be giving away, this, that, and the other. And it's a blatant use of brand and copyrighted material to
actually the pages.
People.
So they were really written Emirates Air dot and British Air dot. The logo, they simply ripped it off for the logo from the official page. The same thing with the header and everything. So it really looked official. The only thing is, not only the message was obviously scammy, there was full of mistakes, of syntax and orthographic mistakes, but it kept being shared and shared and shared. And I saw that on my feed and I was like, the hell? So the first thing I tried to do, and I tried to report that. And then I realized for the first time, because I almost never report stuff on Facebook, that Facebook doesn't really make it easy to report for trademark infringement. Every time I was trying to report it, they say, oh, so you don't want to say this on your feed. I said, no, this is not what I want. I want to tell Facebook that this is a scam. So is this racism? I'm like, no, and so I ended up actually going to report those for harassment. Actually, Facebook came back to me. And a few hours later for the Emirates one, they first told me that we reviewed the page you reported for harassment and found it doesn't violate our community guidelines. And then about 11 minutes later, thank you for a report. We changed our mind and we'll actually remove it. A few hours later, this thing for British Air. I've also had contacted, I feel like a freaking knight here, but that's not the case. I was really right up that day. I contacted I tried to contact British Airways, but they don't have a contact on Facebook. They tell you, you go on Twitter. And Emirates, I contacted them through a message. They came back to me very quickly and told me, we raised the issue to our corporate communication legal team. So I guess this is why, between me reporting it, I'm not saying me, maybe other people, and the fact that these pages were gone. But I mean, it's a bit.
It's infuriating.
Yeah, and that Facebook doesn't, just lets it go. I understand that Facebook might not have the possibility to review every single page, and also a lot of false positives and stuff. But this is really, people were falling for it, right? And
I'm really surprised that Facebook doesn't have a mechanism to report any type of scam.
No, exactly. There was none. The trademark infringement, believe it or not, when I did it, they said, so you can send a message to the guys and ask them to put it down. Yeah, as if. All right. Well, no, that doesn't work like that. Anyway, so just guys, be careful when you see that kind of stuff. Actually, what's his name? John from the Emirates Facebook team, when we had a conversation, very nice guy, and he said, not all that glitters is gold. So yeah, basically, if it's too good to be true,
probably is.
It probably is. Talking about miles, because that's a way to get actually to these first class seats. I didn't know that you can earn miles at Heathrow, just at the airport.
Yeah, they've been working on this for a while. It's a good idea.
To use it?
No,
me neither. And actually, the funny bit is that I learned from it by receiving a newsletter from Etihad. So Etihad, of course, now they've partnered with. So they said, Etihad, I can earn Heathrow miles, I don't know the name, and that they can then be also converted to Etihad miles. So, well, interesting. So obviously it works. Cool. It's not the amount of steps you take in the airport. Obviously, it's we wish. Yeah. It's the amount of shopping you do. All right.
I'd be flying first class all the time if it was based on steps at Heathrow.
Yeah, in some terminals, yeah, especially now in Terminal 2, if you have the bad luck, because that's my main terminal, the B gates are at least 15 to 20 minutes away from the A gates. You walk and you walk and you walk and you walk and you walk. Anyway, do you use talking to Silla Airport? Do you use LoungeBuddy? We mentioned
LoungeBuddy, the app. No, I played with it. I don't use it, but because I for the longest time had access to lounges through various status with either Virgin or somebody else. But, and I keep running into this now that I have lost my beloved gold status on Virgin, it would be nice to duck into a lounge from time to time, especially if I'm on a long layover or something and want to get some work done or just chill out. And LoungeBuddy seems to be moving in the right direction to figure out the best way to get into a paid lounge.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, this is why I wanted to mention it, because it has been around for quite a while, but I've never truly used it because it was a bit clumsy. But now it's actually much better. It tells you, okay, you're in Terminal 5, let's say, at Heathrow, or you are at JFK Terminal 7, and would list you all the lounges are available. You can actually, not only you will list in your settings, in your profile, you'll say, okay, I have this card and this card and this card of this status, et cetera, et cetera. Then you can also say, I'm on this flight, and automatically will give you, okay, you have access to that lounge. Some lounges actually, the partner lounge might not be the lounge of the airline you're flying, you still have access to, and that's coming to your point, Alex, they will also give you automatically the ones that you can pay to get in, and you can actually pay for them through the app. So you can actually, you're in front of the lounge, I want to get into this one, click, pay, I'm in. That's pretty cool.
That is cool. It is cool.
I'm like you, I'm starting to run into that kind of thing where it would be like something for long layovers. So I would use LoungeBuddy much more. They also integrated now with TripIt, but the integration of TripIt is more informational. They just tell you, oh, there's a lounge, but you cannot do anything within TripIt. You just know there's a lounge. So you should download LoungeBuddy if you're a frequent flyer. It's pretty nicely done, and they listen to feedback. So you should do that. Another quick app, I saw a product hunt the other day. It's called Corner app. So yet another app that you can book flights with, but I find it really well done. Have you tried it? Have you downloaded it?
It's beautiful. I need a little bit more data and time to book my flights, but I think it's easily the most attractive and well laid out booking app on a phone I've ever seen. And you can look at places like not just by price, but by weather.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you say, I want to fly and then you can sort by weather and say only fly in good weather, and it's really beautifully done. Of course, it's still not. Then I guess it simply redirects. I mean, everything happens within the app, but I think you can see that it looks through other channels to buy the actual ticket. But it works really well. So you should take a look at it. Very quickly, Air France app, I have it on my phone. The only reason I want to mention it is that I've seen a lot of apps when you can actually take a picture of your loyalty miles card or even credit card. But this is the first time I see an app where you can take a picture of your passport and have all the information within the app. That's pretty cool.
That's very useful.
Yeah, I think this is something that we'll see more and more. So Apple announced the iPhone 6s and 6x Plus. I think you already ordered one.
I did only because I'm several models behind, and my beloved iPhone 5 is it lasts about 46 minutes on a battery, so it was time.
Yeah, but I'm sure you also did it because of that flight thing we mentioned on iOS 9, right?
I do like the flight thing, the in iOS flight preview.
But have you seen that now? Actually, there's a demo that actually it uses that Force Touch. Is it called 3D Touch?
3D Touch, yeah.
So basically, 3D Touch is like for those who don't know what it is if you press harder on the screen, it will create another set of actions. And this is actually how the flight thing works. So if you have, let's say, a flight number on an email, for instance, and if you first touch it, you'll have that screen that you shared, Alex. You remember that it would give you the exact flight path details and etc.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's the reason you bought the
Yes, actually, that is. It's a very cool feature. I think both the 3D Touch and the built-in flight stuff, because I'm always looking at stuff like that.
So I haven't pre-ordered it. I'm still on the fence of if I will, but I'll look at yours and maybe I'll make a decision.
Yeah.
Another thing I stumbled upon very quickly is that KLM is, as usual, very good on social, and now they are actually doing a lot of sponsors posts on so ads basically on Instagram. You might have seen them if you are on Instagram. Of course, it depends on the territory, so they're not always in all territory. But the interesting bit is that instead of putting ads about flights and destinations, all the ads are about what happens, something that you'd like, Alex. It happens in the background. So, for instance, maintenance of jet engines. It's pretty interesting to go in that direction.
It's very cool. It's a beautiful photo, the one that you're referencing.
And if you click on it, it leads you to KLM website, and it explains you the jet engines and everything. And actually, it's I understood that after a while. It's almost like a job offer. It's like to attract engineers.
Nice. It's clever.
Interesting. That's clever.
I mean, these guys are the leaders for social amongst airlines, I would say. KLM, they've done such a great job. I'm super impressed by them.
So now going back to the United States, there was a slight problem. We talked about Newark earlier. Newark. What happened?
Yeah, this could have been really bad, but a hangar collapsed. It's almost like it just sort of deflated. 4 people were injured, so it wasn't without any issues. But mercifully, it had been decommissioned, this hangar. And of course, it was a United Airlines hangar as well, just to beautifully and eloquently, almost poetically illustrate the state of that airline. It's got the logo emblazoned on the side of it, and it's just sort of slumped like a really crappy cake. And look, so it was unused and undergoing a demolition, but then it just sort of collapsed in on itself. It's a pretty spectacular picture.
Obviously, it's also bad luck, but as you say, it kind of hints at sometimes the state of the infrastructure leaves a lot to be desired in North America, especially the US. So that's sadly probably a sign of it. The other thing, talking about another slight oops, is it's not a news that is very recent, but we had talked about it between you and me, Alex, is that Kuala Lumpur airport is sinking.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's literally sinking, and this has seriously pissed off the CEO of AirAsia, who has said that it is responsible for not only severe delays, and that Kuala Lumpur is an operational hub for them, but it's damaged some of their airplanes as well.
So is it one of these airports that is on a man-made island, right?
Yes, I believe so. Not all of it, but at least some of it.
There's a lot of airports like that. So obviously we mentioned, I think Hong Kong is like that. There is Osaka KIX is like that. There's the extension of Haneda in Japan is like that. There's a lot because, it's not only it's of course a problem of room. It's easier to just say, oh, we'll just, create a man-made island and just put an airport there instead of actually have to buy back land or using eminent domain to take back land from people. But as well, it's also easier in terms of noise control because the planes are basically landing and departing over the sea. It seemed in that case that there might have been some engineering issues because if that thing is sinking too fast, they will end up having an issue.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I know, like you say, Kansai had this for years, this problem, and they were able to figure it out eventually. But this is not good. Not
good at all. In Asia still, so we finally have confirmation that that piece of the 777 of A777 that was found in La Réunion Islands is from MH370.
Fine, yeah. There was a little bit of hesitance from the French authorities to come out really after all signs pointed to this piece of the flaperon being from MH370 to actively and without any kind of equivocation say, yes, this is from it. But they finally have come out and said, this is from that airplane.
So what do you think will happen now?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? It's the sort of, so now what? What they haven't come out with, and I think we've been waiting for this, is the forensic analysis of the structure of that flaperon to see how fast it went into the water, what forces acted upon it, was it attached to anything when it crashed, that when it hit the water, that type of thing. So I don't think that they've released that information yet. I think that's probably the next logical step, but we haven't heard anything about any other more significant pieces washing up anywhere in the world. So we're still a long, long way from figuring out exactly what happened to that flight.
Yeah. There are some oceanographers that are saying that whilst you cannot relocate the exact location where the plane hit the water, or at least supposedly hit the water, you can still, via currents and everything, have a better understanding of still large, but an area where it could have come from.
Yeah.
Because this flaperon was not the only piece that apparently came ashore on this beach in La Réunion Island. So probably there was a bit of pieces from there. So they could actually help. Probably, I think the Australian authorities are still running operations and to look for that flight, but the covering, size of the search is just insane.
It's incredible, and Australia are doing this at their own cost as well. And it's again still going on and on and on. So
yeah, it's the problem again with like you said very well. I mean, there's investigations being done on that flaperon, but as long as we don't have any information, everything else is speculation.
Absolutely.
And we still hear a lot of speculation. I mean, of course, the conspiracy theories are there, but also, we remember that the Malaysian government, the Prime Minister very, very quickly said that that piece was for the 777. Thankfully, it was. But still, you can feel that there is a will to probably, find an explanation quicker than they should, just to kind of reassure the families, or just maybe say, oh, we're doing something about it. And that might lead to still a lot of confusion in the coming month.
Yeah, absolutely. And not false hope, but just giving answers that turn out to be false.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say let's be cautious until we have, proper investigations. I mean, the investigation board in France is known to be very effective and very good at it. I mean, they've you remember with the Air France flight, was it 447 or something, the one that crashed between Rio and Paris. They are known to be good, so I trust them that even if it's just one piece of a flight, they will come up with a very solid lead about what happened to that flight. It might not tell us where it is, but at least we'll have a better understanding. So Gatwick
Airport.
It's almost like your home airport because you're closer to Gatwick than any other, right?
It's between that and London City, but yeah, primarily I fly out of Gatwick, and this is going to be controversial. I like Gatwick Airport. I don't think it's nearly as bad as people give it.
Yeah, it's not. So, I mean, if you've heard us talking about it, of course, we are both living in the UK. So and also in London. So obviously we tend sometimes to talk, like in this episode, a little bit more about the UK than others. We'll try always to have a good balance. We already covered Heathrow. We already covered LCY, but the big debate, of course, has been, should Gatwick have a second runway? They currently only have one, or Heathrow have a third runway, which apparently is the decision of the authorities. I don't remember, the Commission for Airports or something. So Gatwick has one single runway. It mostly caters, it caters a lot to more low cost than Heathrow, which doesn't have almost any low costs.
Yep.
Lots of them is EasyJet, which is a good airline, honestly.
Yep.
I understand what you're saying. It doesn't deserve all the, sorry for the term, the crap that it sometimes gets. I think people misunderstand, it's the whole thing, the passenger experience we were also talking about with your dad in the previous episode, is that, yeah, sometimes the experience with EasyJet might be, you pay for what you get. So people kind of tend to put that in the same basket as the airport. But if you look at the airport as itself, I flew from Gatwick with Emirates. I flew from Gatwick with BA, and I flew from Gatwick with US Airways when they were still around. And honestly, each time it was a great experience.
Yeah, it's always billed as London's second tier airport, where you start your flights into London before graduating to Heathrow. I mean, Cathay flew into Gatwick for years before getting all the slots they needed at Heathrow. And like you say, Emirates, they operate A380s into Gatwick.
Absolutely.
BA have substantial long haul operations out of there. Virgin have a huge operation long haul, obviously out of Gatwick. It's got two terminals, the north and the south terminals, linked by a kind of one of those automated trains. It has newer facilities for security and stuff like that, but they're not nearly as well manned as they should be. What I've found about Gatwick is generally, and I'm probably jinxing myself for the next time I go through there, the people are super nice.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. Even at security.
Yeah.
I say even at security because usually that's the one that's a bit of a pain point. Although, I wouldn't say that Heathrow, for instance, is bad. It's just like neutral. They're not nice, neither they're bad. Whereas at Gatwick, people are smiling and hi, hello, how are you?
Yeah,
like, oh,
okay,
and
helpful. I have to. So a really quick story. Last time I flew out of Gatwick, which is just a couple of weeks ago on EasyJet down to Geneva, we were bringing a gift for some friends, and we totally spaced it and had it in our carry-on because it was over 100 mils. It was a jar of jam, of British jam that some friends wanted, and we totally spaced it. And of course, we're like, okay, just throw it away. And the lady was like, was so nice, so understanding. This is at security, and she said, "Look, if you go to run to Boots and buy a couple of containers, you can scoop the jam out of this quote unquote threatening container into the ones that you just brought and take the jam with you." And we're like, okay,
nice.
Can we keep the pot? And we're like, and she said, no, absolutely, no, you can't. And we're like, so we can keep the contents, but we can't keep the empty container. And the lady looked at us like, I know how idiotic this is, but it's the rules. I'm so sorry. She didn't say that, but she didn't have to. Her look just said it. We're like, look, it's a £2.50 thing of jam. Don't worry about it. But she was so sweet about it. I mean, she did her job. She enforced the rules. She didn't make the rules. There was no point in us getting mad at her. But I think it really kind of summarizes the attitude generally of people at Gatwick. I like going through there.
But although you said it's considered a second tier, it's still the second biggest airport in the UK, and it's not nothing.
No. You're absolutely right to point that out. I think
it's almost 40 million passenger a year.
It's the busiest single runway airport in the world by a long shot since Kai Tak closed. It's a good airport. I like it. Pro tip here. So there's the Gatwick Express. Here we go. Patented Alex Hunter rant coming up, which is a ripoff. It takes you into Victoria Station, which is great, right in the center of town. It is obscenely expensive, and there are normal overground scheduled services from the same platform that are substantially cheaper and take between 4 and 7 minutes longer. This is over a 30-minute journey, bear in mind. So don't get conned by the Gatwick Express. Jump on one of the normal services that will stop at maybe 2 other places, like East Grinstead and somewhere in Croydon maybe, and dump you out at the exact same station, Victoria.
Yeah. And also for those who are getting in, that's for the premium experience that I was lucky to have one through Emirates. So there's a fast track, a premium security. It's better than any premium security get all across the UK. I mean, even Heathrow doesn't actually qualify as good. It's really a completely separate entrance, very solid. It's big, it's airy, it's people are extremely nice. Even the normal security, actually, I find it very efficient.
Yes.
More efficient than Heathrow most of the time, again.
More efficient than Heathrow. If they had a few more staff, it would be a lot better. And if you travel with families, there's a dedicated family line, which is in both terminals, which is so useful. And in fact, another shout out to the Gatwick staff, because we were flying on the August bank holiday, leading up to the August bank holiday, and it was busy, which is fine. We were expecting that, and we got in line at the family. I was traveling with my wife and 2 kids. The family thing. Someone from BAA, British Airport Authority, people that run Gatwick, came over and said, "Don't go in that line." I'm like, "Oh, we're a family." He's like, "Don't go in that line. It's going to take forever." And he walked us clear across the terminal, kind of holding my son's hand to make sure he kept up. He's like, "This line is always shorter. It's always faster." He's like, I know it looks longer. I know it looks like he's like, "But trust me." And he was absolutely right. So he didn't have to do that.
Oh, that's really cool.
It was very impressive.
Did you ever have, we'll almost finish on that, but did you ever have on the way in, was there a lot of time to wait at immigration, border control? It can be,
in
right?
the past, it can be awful. In fact, we landed as an A380, the jet bridges were being put out to an A380. I looked at my wife and said, "We have got to sprint. Otherwise, we're going to be behind 450 people." We were in the middle of that 450 people, and I don't know what they've done, but what they've done at immigration, but we didn't wait more than 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Because I had off and on experiences about that. Sometimes you have to walk a lot, especially if you're in the terminal that caters for EasyJet, but it's off and on, but it's okay. I mean, still acceptable.
We had to walk a long way, but we did get to walk over the awesome bridge that goes across that. By the way, it's a great airport to actually do plane spotting, because a lot of it has massive windows. You can look at the apron, you can look at the runway, the parking. So it's contrary to Heathrow, which is a bit more secluded for that. You have pretty great views. So if you're a plane spotter, it's actually a pretty cool airport to watch. Big birds. Cafe Rouge, South Terminal, great views. They are.
I didn't know that one, actually, so I will next time, definitely. And one thing also, because I've been asked actually by a friend recently, there are sometimes, for those who do not live in the UK and actually do layovers, there are in some cases, and I've seen that on BA, because I tried this morning actually just to see, there are some flights that are offered where you land at Heathrow and then you take off from Gatwick, or the opposite. So be warned that the route in between usually is made by car on the M25, which is the circular highway or freeway, whatever you want to call it, motorway here in the UK, which is around London. It can take a little bit of time. Which is why, obviously, these flights are usually offered with between sometimes 3 hours of time, because it can take. Yeah, sometimes it can only take half an hour if there's absolutely no traffic. A little bit more than half an hour. Let's not kid ourselves. But it can't be actually really backed up on that. So for those who have this option in front of them, be warned that you'd better hurry to be on the highway as fast as possible. There's sadly no fast rail link. They're thinking about it, but first I think we have to deal with the runway, and then we'll think about a rail link.
I can't, and I travel, obviously it's my home, London, and I would never, ever do a flight that had a flight landing at Gatwick that connected to a flight in Heathrow or any of the other London airports.
I would not, but I've seen it's offered many times, actually, more than I thought.
It's a great tip. Kayak's good at pointing out that that if you you have different airport connections, but I just avoid it in London. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah. So on that, I think it's an airport like as the others in London. We obviously will talk about because that runway thing is not over.
Not going to go
far
away
from it.
for a long time.
So I've actually received, for those who watched the video, received this morning. Say,
look at that.
No Heathrow third runway protest on October 10th. And actually 2 days ago, I received another, which was, do I want to give a testimonial why Heathrow should have a third runway? We know that some of it is actually, of course, engineered by the airports themselves, fair game. So this is why we'll still be talking about it. But we'll try not to bore you with it. On that, Alex, see you next time.
See you next time, guys. Take care.
Happy travels.
On behalf of Layovers and the entire crew, we would like to thank you for joining us on this podcast today. And we're looking forward to seeing you on board again next week. Flight attendants, please prepare for landing.